So we're going to talk about how to make your life a little more simple with SAP Business One, and that's through navigating. Some of the stuff will be quite familiar to you, but throughout I'll try to maybe look at some things that you might not necessarily use all the time or not quite used to it, so hopefully you'll get some benefit from that. Okay, so today what we're going to be talking about is navigating and design in SAP Business One. We're going to discuss the logging in, the menu and general structure. We'll have a discussion of the main menu, the menu bar, toolbar, the document screen design, some right-click context-sensitive menus, and the You Can Also menu. We'll do a quick overview of printing, previewing, and a little bit of a discussion on the cockpits, widgets, and dashboards. I won't be focusing on that one. That's a class all of its own.
It is, but I just want to mention, James, that we had already covered a full session on that with Mike Taylor last year. So if anybody does want the recording of the tips and tricks session on cockpits and dashboards, just send me an email and I'll share the file with you.
Perfect. Okay, so everybody's going to be familiar with the logging in. Typically, you're going to double click on the SAP Business One icon. It'll bring up a company that you were most recently in, or you can use the change company and select companies from a list of companies. You have to put in your username and password every time you switch between databases. Okay, so once you log in, this is what you're typically going to see. You may have some of your dashboards up and in this area, but today we're going to talk about the menu structure and what that does for you. So in terms of the menus, you've got your main menu, which has a list of all of the applications that are available to you. Then you have your menu bar, which presents other options. The equivalent on the menu bar is modules. So as you can see, when I select modules, it brings up an identical set to the set that is here. So if I go to My Cockpit, it's going to bring up my cockpit menu, and if I go to modules, it's going to bring up each of the functional menus that we want to look at. There are menu structures below each of these options that will provide you with further access and capability to take advantage of the functions within the application. And there's also an extensive set of icons that are available for you as well. Now, the one thing is you'll notice that some of the icons are grayed out. That means that that icon's not available to you at this time. The icons that are lit up, those are the ones that are available to you. So you'll notice as I cursor across, it's going to indicate to you that that menu option is available through that icon for you. So we'll have a discussion on what each of the icons do and how you initiate that. So different types of menu, the view menu, which is one of those areas that I use all the time, and mainly because I like to turn on either the user-defined fields or turn on my system information. So click. And what the system information does for me is it enables me to see what fields I'm in. So for example, if I bring up an AR invoice, when I cursor over this cell, you'll notice on the lower left-hand side, OINV, comma, card name. OINV is the database, card name is the name of the field. So if you're designing a report or a query, it comes in handy to turn on that system information so that you can go over your documents and select the name of that field. Okay, under our menus again, if you click on an option, it'll bring up what's available to you below that menu. Most people don't go into the administration if they're a user, but if you are a super user or have the professional license rights, then you would be working in here periodically. You'll notice that on these options you have a different icon beside each icon. So you've got a square one here that indicates it's going to go directly to the command that you're trying to execute. So again, it brings you directly into where you want to be, or you're going to have a folder icon, which means that there are sub menus below. And so you can see here again, you have the square icon takes you directly to that particular option, or you can take something like this to look at the authorizations, and within here you have the different authorizations. So navigating the system, you can navigate through all of these menu options. Now, similarly, underneath modules, you have a set of menus that will come up. So it'll take you directly, or it can even go deeper than that. So as you can see, it'll show you the menu path as you follow through on that menu. Okay, the icons provide a great way to navigate through all of the different options. So I'll take a little bit of time and explain what the icons are for. So I'm going to go into a sales order. Now you'll notice that when the sales order came up, it brought on different icons. The icons are active within that particular marketing document. So to navigate the marketing documents, these green arrows allow you to navigate through the records. So you can either go to the first record in the database and it'll go to the first record, or you can go to the last record in the database, or you can cursor back one record at a time. So if you're doing a search, then that comes in handy for you to be able to cursor through what you're looking for. Because you may, use, if you do a Control F for find and you go to find a particular customer, then you're going to come up with a whole list, and you may want to cursor through those. Could everybody see if they've got their microphone on and maybe mute it until we've got a question or something, because I'm getting some feedback. Thanks. Okay, so when we go across here and opening up one of the marketing documents, once you're in that document, now you can see that I've got these other options up as well. So here we have the print preview function, and should come up with the layout that sales order. My default layout isn't set up on this one. There we go. So the preview brings up your invoice so that you can look at the invoice. Next is sending to print, sending to email. I don't know if anybody has a fax machine anymore. There's a business that's gone out. You've got your Microsoft integration here with your Excel and Word as well. You have an Adobe icon too that allows you to view Adobe documents and create them. If you have some add-ons, this is the button that allows you to launch the add-on. Here you can lock your screen, so it's probably a good practice to if you walk away from your computer, to lock your screen so nobody can access your computer. You know, you don't want some disgruntled employee sending an email to your boss from your machine. You have your find function. So these two here, find and add, they're two different modes. So if I do Control F, it comes up with find mode, or I can do the binoculars come up with find mode. The next icon is your add mode. So here, since it's all in yellow, then we are in find mode. If I go into add mode, everything goes to white. That means that I'm adding a record to the database, and that's what that icon does. And again, you'll have option buttons down below on your record. I'm going to cancel this particular transaction. So I want to find an open transaction, so I'm going to do a Control F, and hopefully that'll bring up. Okay, so now I've got an open transaction. The navigation keys have changed. Now I've gone from OK, cancel, but the copy to button is now highlighted. What that does is it allows me to navigate to another document. So I can take this sales order, I can turn it into a delivery, an AR invoice, take a down payment, or go straight to another invoice type. If we pick a document that is further down the process, for example, you might have a delivery, you might copy your invoice from your delivery. So that's where the copy from option will come up. The other menus are if you right mouse click on your screen, then you're going to bring up a context menu. So back to the icons. So we've talked about the navigation icon. This other one is refresh. If you make a change in a document and you hit refresh, it will update your document. These icons come in quite handy. So for example, if I'm doing a find and I want to look for everything that's open, and it's going to bring up a list. So now what I've done is I've used the find to navigate to a report document. And one of the features that I really like about this is if you're going to work with a whole bunch of these, then you want to click your keep visible so that when you're done with the particular record that you wanted to deal with and you close it, your list is still there. So that comes in handy if you're editing a whole, a sequence of data, then you keep that up and you just scroll down and go through the data. Now what you'll notice is now that I've gone into a list, my filter and my sort table icons are now lit up. So the sort is pretty logical. It brings up your sort table. It allows you to pick what column you want to do the sort by, and then it'll resort your data. So if, for example, if I want to do it by customer, I do a sort table, and now I'm in alphabetical order with the customers. The other feature is the filter, which is it's a powerful tool. What it does is it gives you an opportunity to put in parameters for selecting your data. So if you want to look at reports that are greater than a certain date, then all of these options are there. It allows you to put in the value, and it allows you to put in a range of values. The other icon that came up is the form settings, and the form settings comes in quite handy because in here you have the opportunity to add every single field that is in this document. So as you can see, it's a pretty extensive list, and it takes a little bit getting used to, but eventually you will know exactly which ones you're looking for. So you can go into this and select the additional fields that you may want to, up here we've got document number, posting date. Down here we can say, what is the document date? Is it different than the posting date? So we'll select that. You get to put in a description and update your list, say OK. Now what you have to do is you have to rerun that list. So I'm going to go into my open, enter, and now I have my document date included in my list report. There are comprehensive lists throughout the whole system, and you can get a lot of them out of this particular way, or you can use the You Can Also menu, which we'll look at a little bit later. Okay, so now we've talked about the icons related to a document. So we've talked about looking at the list and the filters. Now we can take and look at what the target document is. We have an opportunity to calculate the gross profit on that particular transaction when that icon is up. Here you also have some, if you're shipping documents, you can do a volume and weight calculation. You can have a look at the transaction journal that is associated with it. So you can say, okay, I want to see the journal entry that was created from this particular transaction. And you can do a journal entry preview. That can come in handy before you post your journal entry. The other icon that comes up is your layout designer. This is a great way to, one, find out what's your default document. So if you're printing a document and you're puzzled by the results because maybe somebody has gone and changed the document, you can go through this layout designer, and the document that's highlighted in black is the default document. So this is a Crystal Reports document. I can tell because it says Layout Crystal Reports. These other documents are the PLD format, which was the traditional format that came with SAP Business One. So I'm currently favoring switching my documents all to Crystal Reports because in the near future the PLD will eventually disappear. And it's a little bit more complicated. But if I go in here and I can set that document as a default and then set it for all the users and update it, and now it's going to, when I go into my preview, it's going to select that particular layout for me. I can go back in, select this, go in, set that as my default again, put that one back. The other thing you can do when you're here is you can manage the layout. So you can select Manage Layout, and it's going to bring up the document that you want to edit. You can go into Edit, and it brings up the PLD format for making adjustments. And so you've got the PLD format, and you've got your property sections that you can use to modify your documents. Okay, form settings. Form settings comes in very handy with a lot of lists and a lot of documents. So for example, on the AR, I'm going to look at the form settings for this AR invoice. You've got your table format. Here you have an opportunity to select the fields that you want to display on your marketing document. So in here, notice I don't have the item description on here, which is interesting. I guess you'd have to be pretty familiar with your product line not to avoid that. So I'm going to add that to my report and say OK. And now I've got my item description on my report. So going into your form settings allows you to navigate around the document and to select the fields that you want to display in it. Next is our query manager. In here you can execute the query manager, which is equivalent to going into tools, query manager. So if I click on that icon, now query manager is good when you're working with queries that you've created. So you can go into the queries, you can bring it up, and you can edit that query to create yourself a little report. The list report that I displayed is something that I would build a query myself because I'm familiar with the databases. It's a lot faster for me to go in and select the fields. So if I wanted to do that, I can go in here, I can select query, use the query generator, which brings up, and you select your, so I'm selecting the customer master file, and I can go in, card name, card type, what the group is, what their postal code is, and their balance of their account, and execute it, and I instantly have a report. And so that's one of the options that you can cursor through. And what you'll notice is on here you have a lot of different options from within the query itself. You can actually create a graph and have a look at the graph. So that's navigating into your tools or generating it from here. Here's where your work list messages. I don't have any messages in there at the moment. No. Email messages. My server's telling me I should be doing a bunch of stuff today, activity schedules for today. Have I sent anything in my outbox? Here's the items that I've sent in the past. This icon here is the calendar icon. It is part of the CRM that we have within SAP. So the calendar is integrated all the way through. You can set your activities, you can set appointments, you can schedule calls. It allows you to do that, and you do it with these icons here. So I'm going to schedule a phone call for today. I'd click that icon, and it's bringing up that one. Interesting. Okay, so these icons here, they display the items that you've created. So for example, I want to see the phone calls, then that's the phone call and the meeting. So each of these icons will display those items on the calendar. These items on the calendar are created from your activities. So if you navigate to the business partners and go into your activity, you can create the different activities. So if I create a meeting for today, and I'll just accept the defaults. And now when I go back into the calendar, I have clicked to have the meeting display on here. So the icon's trying to tell you there's a little telephone and a clock and a little couple of people and a clock, what that icon is meant for. So that's what you get in your calendar. And these tools are for your cockpit management, and then there's the context help. Now, I've found that the context help can be quite good. However, there is lots of areas on the system where there is no context help. There is a better help function available at the SAP site that I found, and I'll get Tracy to send you the URL to that help function. And okay, so now when we're looking at our documents, we have a couple of different areas on the documents and the records that we're looking at. So I'm going to navigate to my business partner, go to my business partner master data, and on this screen you have several options that are available to you in terms of navigation. One of them is the You Can Also menu. So if you look at that, there is quite a few options available to you on the You Can Also menu. So you can see related service calls, activities, opportunities, recurring transactions, blanket agreement, and service contracts that are associated with this particular business partner. You can create an activity. I'm going to create, a meeting. I want to have a meeting with this person, and I set that up. Or I can establish it to follow up on a particular call. It'll show up on my activity list, but you also can assign that activity to another user if you have the proper structure in place. What you notice in the database structure is that all of the master records look basically the same structure. You have your header area, you have your tabs with your fields, and some of them have like grid type display as well. Navigating through is just a matter of selecting those particular tabs and displaying all of the options underneath them. So for example, you have your 64 properties that you can assign to your users. Here you can put in remarks and also attach photos with this photo icon down here, insert an image, or you can add attachments. So you can actually go out, select an attachment, and update your record, and it's now attached to that particular item. Again, you have a right context menu. On the record, I can remove a business partner. You can only remove a business partner if it has no transactions whatsoever associated with it. Once it has a transaction, it's a permanent record in the SAP system. Also, it has to, basically you can't have done anything in the record. You can duplicate the record and give it a new code number. And under here you can get the special prices for your business partners, your catalog numbers, inventory, dunning history, and inventory status. A lot of these items are available to you, and they come up with selection criteria. And if you're using dunning, this can be a pretty handy tool as you try to manage your collections. Okay, so, and then all throughout the system are the different buttons. So you have browse, display, delete. You can also, okay, cancel. Properties, you can bring up the properties associated with that particular record. So for example, if a dunning property you classified one of the customers as perpetually late, because you know that they're late, but they're dependable, they're going to pay you anyway. But you might create a property that allows you to hone in on that particular group, say late payers, and then that will pop up your list to help you manage your receivables from there. I think that's basically the navigation around SAP Business One. Is there any questions?
You have all afternoon?
Hey, well, you know what? I do have a solution for anybody that has a lot of questions, and here it is right there. The SAP Business One User's Guide. It was published just before Christmas, and it has detailed instructions on every aspect of the system.
I also have links for, I've got past presentations that we've covered a variety of topics, but I have 3 links. If you guys are interested, send me an email and I'll share. You've got the Learning Hub, which is free. You can get an S number, which is a number that's for SAP, and it lets you go into their system, and there's a whole bunch of free training things that's really, really interesting, and you can just search whatever you're looking for. And if you don't have an S number, You just have to place your call at support@forjestic.com and ask them for an S number for your for the support hub. I could send you the links if anybody wants them. At the end, James will just show you the our contact page where you have my email, but that could be good as well.
Yep. So what was your question, sir?
Oh, okay. Well, first off, I guess James, you're a super user, right?
Yes.
Yes, because when you talk like a super user, and you lost me at like page 3. So.
My apologies. I should have jumped in first.
You know it so well. That's okay. That's good. We need someone who knows it so well. So I was trying to follow some of the things you were doing, and I was having trouble because it kept dropping. SAP kept locking up on me. But one thing I just wanted to ask is, you mentioned the calendar. That's a feature that a lot of our inside sales people would like to use. But on the calendar, from what I understand, you cannot generate an activity in the calendar. You have to go to activities.
No.
Doesn't sound right to me.
No, because you see the "you can also" menu down there? Wait, just wait. Is that associated with that? Hang on. No, you can. There is an idiosyncrasy there. You can. You know what? I'll have to clarify that, because I thought for sure that you could create an activity from in here.
Yeah, because every calendar I've ever seen, usually you can create activity on the calendar, because there may be a conflict with another activity, right? So if I go to create an activity and there's a conflict, I won't know until I create it and look at the calendar later and say, oh no, I have a conflict. So by looking at the calendar, I see right away if I have a conflict. I have a call scheduled at 10 o'clock, another one scheduled until 5 or something. That's just my observation on that, but I may be.
You know what? I'll follow up on that, because you know what? I recall when we were doing the book, there was something about the calendar and the activities.
Right.
And I thought for sure you should be able to create an activity from the calendar, but really your activities are related to a business partner. And I think that that's the driving force behind it, right? Because your record, your activity is going to be related to either a marketing document or a business partner.
As opposed to clicking on the calendar, trying to create an activity, and then asking which business partner it is, it goes the other way around. Okay, that does make sense.
Yeah,
but
I'm pretty sure
that's support also, though, if he needed help. Could he not, James? Maybe there's a way to go around it?
No. The logic is that you've got to be in an area where it requires an activity that's tied to a specific record. Yeah.
Right, that makes sense. That does make sense.
Right.
The other question I had was, when you were in the business partner section towards the end, of course, not everyone has access to a lot of that data. I mean, a lot of our inside sales people don't have access to the master data in the sense of being able to create or make changes, because then you can have mayhem, right?
Right, absolutely.
So some of the things you're talking about, like adding, one of the big things that caught my attention was adding attachments and photos.
Yep.
So if we're doing a quote, sending a quote to a customer, and we want to attach, say, a spreadsheet or some data that one of our technicians worked on, plus a photo of the application, we could do it in that business partner master data section, right?
Yes, absolutely.
What level of user would you have to be to do that?
Okay, so there is the limited CRM does have some access to the customer record, and in the most current version of the software, you can assign an owner to the document, which means that if you have, salesman A, then you can assign salesman A to be the owner of the documents, and they can only access stuff that they have ownership over. And with the business partner master data, you can actually use the user design interface and remove everything if you wanted to, and leave your guy with one field that says, attach a photo. So
so we could set it up so that the inside sales, if they had because what we've been talking about here is trying to, I'm in the sales managing part, so the idea of being able to generate a quote for a customer, but then attach to that quote some data that would relate to that quotation. Let's say we're doing a project, many $1,000 project. We want to attach other details so that when someone looks at the quote, they know what it's based on.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing a quote today, or inside sales is doing a quote today, they would have to go into the master data to be able to make attachments, or can we attach it right in the quotation field from the quote itself?
Let me.
I do AR, open a quotation, and I'm working on a quotation. Can I add data besides just the remarks, of course? Can I add other information like a photo or like a
Yep.
spreadsheet?
Okay, so I've got the sales quotation marketing record up, and you have the attachments directory. And in there you can attach documents and photos and items that relate to that particular user. Because back here in the master record, anything attached is specific to that
Client.
particular partner. Right,
Right, not to a specific quote, exactly.
Right, so you would use the quote. So say you had, some specifications on your product that you sent to the client, but you want to be able to refer to it once you're negotiating the quote again, you can attach it, and then it's attached to the activity record that created it.
Okay, but from the quotation, if you go back to the quotation,
yep.
The actual quote, the attachments there, they're limited, I think. Is that correct?
In what way? It can be a Word document. It can be an Excel spreadsheet, a PDF. It can be a JPEG file.
Okay,
because,
that's fine. Okay.
Right, when you're setting up the system, there is a tab in there that's called Path, and underneath the Path is where all of the documents get stored. So it's under these directory, and if you use the particular business partner, it'll store them related to that business partner as well.
Okay, good. So that we'll work on that. I'll talk to our IT guy, and we'll work on that. I'm trying to get that, because that's one thing that's kind of stopped us. Right.
So, yeah, you mentioned that we went quick. I've recorded this seminar, so you can actually go through it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So have I
To
too,
find
James.
the bits that you want.
James, is yours better than mine? My recording is directly in the tool. Is yours better than mine is?
I'm going to edit it. Yeah, I'm using Camtasia.
Okay, could you send it to me? And I want anybody who wants a recording to this, send me an email. James will put up our contacts for support and my email as well. And I'll be able to send whatever you want. And I also want that document that you had, James, the user guide, because I have some people here that asked me for it.
Well, no, I can't give that to you because that's a proprietary copy.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes, because being one of the authors, I got a copy. The only way you can get that book is buy it.
Okay, and where could they buy it?
SAP Press.
And is there a link to that, or they go to SAP Press? Is that a website, or?
I bet you if I went and Google and went SAP Press, it would show up. It's Reinhold Publishing.
Reinhold Publishing. All right.
Yeah.
So is this like buying a new Cadillac and then you have to buy the owner's manual after?
Well, I would say that B1's the Cadillac and this is the owner's manual. Actually, this was a collaborative effort of 4 or 5 business partners.
Right.
And so it just came off the press on December the 22nd. It's based on SAP Business One 9.2, and it's comprehensive. It's step by step, and where the advantage. I beg your pardon?
I understand. You guys have written it from the point of view of someone using the system, so that's good.
Absolutely, and where it's really useful is nobody ever gets all the features in the software running, because when we're going live, all we want's an invoice out the door.
Exactly.
Collect our money. Nothing else counts. But as you mature with it, you'll want to look at what features are available, what reports are available, where else can I introduce efficiencies into my process. So, your accountants might read the banking section and go, oh, why aren't we doing this? Right? Hooking in your bank statement and letting the back end do all the reconciliation instead of, some poor clerk once a month, spending 6 hours reconciling the bank.
Well, it's like buying a car and then reading the owner's manual a year later, you find out things you never knew before about your own car. So it's the same idea.
Yeah, that's about every electronics piece I have.
Yeah.
You know, but
the clock's still flashing on your VCR?
No, I got past that. Everything started at 12:01 though. Yeah, you know what? This is a good thing for the leaders to have, because you know it's not. Yes, it can get down to the detail of how to do this stuff, but it also tells you what the capabilities are. So, for example, as a sales manager, the business partner chapter, and where it discusses activity and the CRM and how all of that stuff works would be very beneficial, because then you can go back to the sales guys and say, here's the process we're going to follow.
Right.
And I'd like you to do this so that I can stay on. I want you to put stuff in the sales funnel. I want to be able to see what our opportunities are going forward. I want to know what my future cash flow is going to be. Right? And so you get to tie all those things together.
Yeah, no, you're right. It makes sense. Okay.
Caller 2, I'd just like to know what your name is, because your name wasn't up there. I want to make sure you get all the documents that you wanted.
Well, my name is Wayne Rickaby, but you're going to be sending the documents to Will.
Oh, okay, super. All right, great. I'll send everything to Will. Okay, good.
Please, he'll manage it from this end.
Okay, good. Thanks. So
yeah, I'm going to put up your contact stuff.
Yeah, please. So look, everybody, thanks for joining. I just want to say, if you need any help at all, if you've got questions, this is our new technical support email, and it's actually linked to a new ticketing system that we have. So if you send any question to support@forgestic.com, you get free 30 minutes per issue. And I want to specify, if you're sending a message to support, send one for each topic. Like, don't send one email to cover 2 or 3 things, because you'll just get 30 minutes. So send an email per issue that you want, and that way we should be able to cover everything that you need in the 30 minutes per issue. And here's my email as well. And in 2 weeks is our next webinar. So that'll be on the 20th. And we're going to be covering the support portal that we have. We covered one a few weeks ago on how our support desk works, but we have a new portal that's up. So when you send an email to this email address, you can actually log into the portal and follow up and see where your tickets are at, to see if, the different phases that your ticket's going through. So it's going to be really practical. So thanks everybody for joining. And like I said, send me an email if anybody wants documents that the information that James just showed us, or just send me an email. I want to send you these contacts for the free training that SAP has, and you'll be able to dig a bit further into there for the free training. So thanks everyone for joining, and have a great weekend.
Bye everybody.
Tracy. Thanks,
All right, bye guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.